Today, America is again forging its future by choosing the man to lead it into the 21st century. This is CNN's coverage of Election 2000.
This is the last official stop of Campaign 2000.
And if people do what I think they're going to do, you're looking at the next president of the United States.
The schedule over the last 48 hours reflected a major worry. Florida, home of Governor Jeb Bush.
And when he looked me in the eye and said, Florida is going to be Bush Cheney country, I believe him.
In Texas, George W. Bush was known as a bipartisan governor. At the time, the state house was run by Democrats, and he had a very good working relationship with them.
We poured our hearts and souls in this campaign, the organization, and the people are going to decide.
Indiana and Kentucky, the polls now have closed in those two states. Our projected winner is Governor George W. Bush, as expected.
Bush wins South Carolina. Vermont, up in the Green Mountain State, there for Al Gore.
A big call to make. CNN announces that we call Florida in the Al Gore column.
About roughly 7:45, we and all the other networks call Florida for Gore. I remember saying, how is Bush possibly gonna, what's the path he could possibly take? Because he's lost Michigan, he's gonna lose Pennsylvania. If anybody wins all three, it's over.
You can bet that Governor Bush will be madder than a rain-down rooster that his brother, the governor, wasn't able to carry this state for him.
Mr. Bush says he is not yet ready to concede Florida, so that only complicates the evening just a little bit.
The networks called this thing awfully early, but the people actually counting the votes are coming up with a little different perspective.
George Bush was a very confident man. I don't think Bush ever doubted that he would manage somehow to get elected.
Some new returns came in, and suddenly the Gore lead that was necessary to make this prediction evaporated.
What the networks give us, the networks take it away. NBC News is now taking Florida out of Vice President Gore's column.
As the night went on, it stayed close until at about 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern Time. It looked like it was game over.
ABC News is now going to project that Florida goes to Mr. Bush.
George Walker Bush, the new president of the United States, the governor of Texas.
And at that point, Al Gore called George W. Bush to concede. Then by about 3 a.m. Eastern Time, the numbers start to wobble again.
Something to report to you here in this very unusual night. The vice president has recalled the governor and retracted his concession, saying that Florida is too close right now.
Under Florida law, if the margin of victory is less than 0.5%, then there's an automatic recount.
Mr. Vice President, did you win the election, sir? We're having a great run here.
A confident and seemingly relaxed Al Gore is effectively starting a second campaign for the White House. His campaign chairman in Florida announcing the campaign will support lawsuits over the issue of ballot irregularities in Palm Beach.
I cast a vote for Gore, but at the same time, I must have punched the Buchanan column as well.
There was the butterfly ballot in Palm Beach County, where an awful lot of people thought they were voting for Al Gore, but because of the way the ballot was designed, they ended up voting for Pat Buchanan. And believe me, those two candidates had nothing in common.
Pat, good evening.
Hi, Charlie.
Do you think you really got 3,400 votes in Palm Beach County?
Yes, I did get 3,400 votes, but I also agree that many of those very probably and almost certainly were intended for Al Gore. I think if it hadn't been for Pat Buchanan and the butterfly ballot, Al Gore would have been president of the United States.
A hand recount of the vote is already underway tonight in Palm Beach County, one of 4 Florida counties which could determine who becomes the next president.
There were 4 counties where we had concrete evidence of irregularities, and so we asked for in-depth recounts in those 4 counties.
The blame may fall squarely on a tiny piece of paper called a Chad. The Chad is what voters are supposed to punch out of paper ballots when they make their choice. Sometimes it sticks.
The hanging one is counted, the swinging door is counted, and the try is counted. The ones that are not counted are the ones that are just dimpled or pregnant. They're a little bit out, but they're not through.
The real issue at hand now is the decision by Florida Secretary of State Katherine Harris to have all ballots from all counties turned in and certified by tomorrow night.
I've decided it is my duty under Florida law to exercise my discretion in denying these requested amendments.
The game was this. The Democrats wanted to keep the recount going, and the Republicans wanted to stop it.
They may keep asking for recount after recount after recount. But when is it going to end? I ask you, when is it going to end?
Each day was a drama, and the Gore forces had just one shot left. They could go to the Florida Supreme Court.
The court today has issued its opinion by a vote of 4-3. It has ordered a manual recount of all undervotes in any Florida county where such a recount has not yet occurred. Because time is of the essence, the recount shall commence immediately.
The Florida Supreme Court issued an opinion changing the deadlines, changing the manner in which votes would be counted. We were stunned, and so we challenged that in the United States Supreme Court.
The votes are being counted, and all of a sudden, the television screen flashes that the United States Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, has ordered the counting to stop. And it hasn't even been an argument of an appeal.
Here you had a conservative Supreme Court stepping in with the authority of the federal government to stop what was traditionally a local issue. It was the reverse of everything you heard from conservatism.
The wait is underway for a decision from the United States Supreme Court, a decision that could keep alive Al Gore's presidential hopes or kill them outright and hand the presidency to George Bush in what would be the first presidential election ever decided by the court.
The system had never had this kind of stress test before, and it failed it. The result of all this? Chaos and uncertainty as to who the President of the United States would be come January 20th.
Everybody in the country was on pins and needles, and those of us who were working to try to get the situation stabilized and over with were exhausted.
I thought we were so clearly right that I thought there had to be a chance that I could persuade one of those 5 justices to change their mind. And I hoped I could do it. I didn't.
It was a very unusual late-night ruling from the United States Supreme Court, the decision ending any lingering hope of a recount.
The problem with Bush v. Gore is that it looked so partisan. It ended in a 5-4 vote with the conservatives in the majority. And so what's important here is to understand the bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. The outcome of the 2000 election, and I don't mean the fact that Bush won, I mean the way he won, deepened skepticism about the impartiality of our institutions.
Thank you all. Whether you voted for me or not, I will do my best to serve your interests, and I will work to earn your respect. The presidency is more than an honor. It is a charge to keep, and I will give it my all. Thank you very much, and God bless America.